Hi everyone, and thanks for stopping by my channel. Today I have another What's for Dinner video for you where I show you what I fed my family from Monday to Friday. So let's not waste any time and let's get right into it. Now first off, for Monday we're having shepherd's pie that I prepared and froze during last week's What's for Dinner. Alright, hey guys, welcome back. So I just want to show you what the plan is for supper for Monday. Tonight it is just Belle and Jamie and I, so we are only 3. So I pulled out this shepherd's pie that I made in a What's for Dinner video last week or the week before. So I took it out this morning and left it out on the stove to defrost because it is frozen solid, guys. It's very, very cold, very frozen. So you can take it out the night before, put it in your fridge to defrost, but this works too. So I'm going to just show you guys a clip. So what I did is we were having shepherd's pie for one night and I decided to make enough to have as a freezer meal. So here it is, just in a pie plate that I get from the dollar store. I'm going to go ahead and stick this in the oven. I stick it in there at about 350 just because it's got to thaw a little bit in the middle, and it does take a good solid hour, potentially an hour and 15 minutes depending on your oven, but just keep an eye on it. Essentially everything in here is cooked. You just want to heat it through and make it all meld and get delicious. So yeah, take this off obviously, and if you wanted to pop this back on so it doesn't burn, but I'm cooking it so low at 350 it's not going to burn. So yeah, so this is awesome. It's a great one for feeling like I still fed my family a pretty decent meal, but I didn't have to do any work today. So I may serve this with some steamed broccoli just to get a little extra green into Belle. And yeah, I'll show you what it looks like when it's all ready to go. So Monday supper is ready. Thank you for food prep during a regular What's for Dinner. Perfect idea. You guys, this was delicious. Even reheated, I swear it gets better. It's just one of those things that less is more. Absolutely love this shepherd's pie recipe. And that's what's for dinner on Monday night. Alright, for Tuesday night, I am really straying from the norm lately. No more Taco Tuesdays. We are having beef stew with sweet rolls and a side of pickles. Alright, so you're going to need however much stew meat that you're going to need for your family, depending on your size. I was feeding 6 people this night, so I have about 2 pounds. I've got all-purpose flour and oil to help brown up my meat. I also have a brown gravy and a stew or a beef stew mix from Clubhouse. I'm going to use those as my broths. I've also got some xoxo, just additional broth. I've got black pepper, organic no salt seasoning from Kirkland. For vegetables, celery is a must when I'm making a stew. I'm going to add some carrots, some turnip, an onion, and some russet potatoes. And I didn't end up adding the cabbage just because it would have overwhelmed my pot. So guys, this is everything you're going to need to make the stew. This isn't a recipe, this is just out of my head, so come along for the ride. First up, you're going to want to chop up 1 whole onion. All I did next was add enough oil to coat the bottom of a deep pot, basically whichever pot you're going to want to use, because everything that sticks to the bottom of that pot is flavor, and you don't want to be transferring your meat and losing all the flavor that it leaves behind. So yeah, add enough oil on the bottom so that you get a good sear on your meat. I'm coating it in this flour to help it sear. So I'm going to add that in there. Once my meat's in there, I'll go ahead and add any seasonings I want to add directly to the meat. In this case, I'm going to add some cracked black pepper, some garlic powder. Yeah, so I'm going to do all that now before I season the stew itself, if that makes any sense. I'm also going to add some no salt seasoning to that as well, because you guys know I put that on everything. Now here I just deglazed the pan with the beef stew mixture that I mixed as per the package directions. I just used a little bit on the bottom to help bring up all the brown beefy bits at the bottom of the pot. Now this is a perfect time to go ahead and add your onions. Now chop your celery however you'd like it. I like it really chunky, so I'm going to go ahead and throw those in now. And here's a perfect chance to add in some of your herbs. So I'm gonna go ahead and add some dried parsley, some oregano, and I ran out of tomato paste, guys. I'm kind of in shock. So I added about a 1/4 cup of tomato sauce because you really need that acidity when you're doing a stew like this. Now I probably cooked these down for about 5 minutes. Then you can go ahead and add your meat back in. Now the reason I opted for the powder version of this xoxo is that I wanted to use it as a seasoning. It even says directly on the package that you can, as opposed to just using it as a braising liquid. What I did use for braising liquid is the beef stew mix from Clubhouse and just the brown gravy mix. So I mixed them as per the package, added them to everything, and then I had to go and add about another 1.25 cups of water just to kind of make sure everything's covered. I don't want it to be steep or sitting in a ton of liquid, but everything is covered and just barely peeking through. Now I leave that sitting for probably 15 or 20 minutes until it comes to a good boil, and it's been going for a while. While that's all happening, I'm gonna take the time to cut up all of the root vegetables that I want in my stew. Like I said at the beginning, it's pretty typical for me. Potatoes, carrots, turnips. I did pass on the cabbage just because I thought it would overwhelm the whole thing. It's just too much. Now a lot of people complain because certain parts of their stew gets really soggy. So the trick here is to make sure that you just cook your turnip and carrots for about a good 25-30 minutes before you throw your potatoes in, because they don't take nearly as long. I did need a little bit more liquid to get everything boiled once I added my potatoes, so that's why I used the second package of xoxo. And here it is, guys. Everything is amazing. I did end up throwing a bay leaf for about 20 minutes when I put the potatoes in. Make sure you take it out before you serve it up. But here it is with sweet rolls, delicious seasoned stew, guys. I added lots of pepper to mine. Obviously, I have pickles because I'm slightly obsessed. But this was dinner for Tuesday night. Now, midweek Wednesday, we went with chicken parmesan with fettuccine and a little switch on the cheese on the chicken parm. All right, so here's everything you're gonna need. You're gonna need some oil to fry this up in the pan. You're gonna do this just to kind of give it a good crisp outer shell before it goes into the oven. You're gonna need some onion powder, some Italian style breadcrumbs. You're also gonna need some oregano and some parsley and some garlic powder. You're gonna need some organic no salt seasoning or just salt or whatever kind of salt you'd wanna use, some grated Parmesan, some black pepper. I have this basil. This is not a necessity, it's just a preference. I'm gonna grab 2 eggs. Also need some whatever pasta you'd like to use. I usually like fettuccine or spaghetti. We were all out of mozzarella, hence the cheese substitute. We're using Tex-Mex. It actually turned out really good, guys. And this sweet basil marinara from Classico. That's our favorite here. And there's a can of corn hiding and holding up my cheese. And then I have 3 dishes for dredging. And you see I already put some flour in there. So here's everything you'll need. The chicken, if you're wondering why it's a little bit white on the edge, I did have to defrost it in the microwave because it was the last minute decision to make this meal today. But I knew with all of the processing I was going to do to the chicken, with the frying and the baking, that little bit of the edge that kind of got cooked in the microwave, not a big deal. So here we go with getting all of our ingredients ready for dredging our chicken. The first thing I like to do is make sure that I season the flour. Even though it's just what's going to help our eggs stick to the chicken, I still think it should be seasoned. So we just add a little bit of black pepper and some salt and mix that up and set it to the side. Now, yes, these are Italian style breadcrumbs, but they're still very mild in their seasoning, and I have preferences, so I'm going to go ahead and season them accordingly. I'm going to go ahead and add a good amount of oregano, a little bit of parsley, and some onion powder and garlic powder to that as well. That's just to kind of spice it up a little bit. And I decided to add a little bit of the no salt seasoning, and I'm just going to go ahead and stir that up with a fork. Now, the final part of the station is to prep the eggs. The only thing that I did end up adding to these 2 eggs was literally just a splash of milk, just because I found it seemed a little bit thick.
Now guys, I remembered I had a pack of ranch seasoning in my cupboard, and I literally just add a sprinkle on top of that too, just to top it off, because apparently I didn't think there was enough of everything else. And here's everything laid out. Here I go, starting to bread my chicken. The one thing I can tell you is some people get intimidated because they don't know what to do first. Wet sticks to dry, sticks to wet, or vice versa. Dry sticks to wet, sticks to dry. So the chicken is wet, you need to dry it off with some flour, shake off the excess, dip it in the egg so now the egg will stick to it, and now that it's wet, dip it in another dry ingredient, your breadcrumbs, so everything kind of sits, coats, it's going to be melded nicely together, and it's going to crisp up really great in your frying pan. Now make sure your oil is nice and hot, but that it's not scalding. And here we go. Really, Santa, I need a knife apparently and new utensils. So I go ahead and put this in. I noticed one side of my pan is a little hotter than I thought. I didn't get that in footage though. Basically, you're gonna see in a minute, it does burn a little bit. I forgot to mention, I also threw some Parmesan cheese on top of those before I threw them in the pan, since I did forget to put it in my dredging station. Now you're gonna wanna grab some sort of baking dish and layer out a little bit of tomato sauce. Here you can see some of my chicken breasts are a little bit toastier than others. Not a big deal. I'm gonna take that kind of liquid concoction of basil and spread it on very sparingly. It's very strong, but it adds a really nice freshness. I'm gonna top it off with a little bit more of that sauce. Super simple, guys. Shake on some shaky cheese, some Parmesan cheese, and go ahead and sprinkle on mozzarella if you have it. It's ideal, but honestly, this Tex-Mex turned out pretty good. Now I threw it in the oven at around 400 degrees for about 8 or 9 minutes because it was pretty cooked because they were pretty thin. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and cook up my corn, my fettuccine noodles, and guys, it came out of the oven looking and smelling amazing. Everything was so hot and fresh and cheesy, and that tomato sauce, super good. Don't ask me where the corn came from. I was just craving corn, so yeah. And since my mind is always on food prep, I made sure I had 4 extra meals to get us through for the next day or so. So guys, this was dinner for Wednesday night. Alright, and going right into Thursday, we are having takeout. We went ahead for New Brunswick delicacy deluxe french fries. It literally doesn't get any more greasy spoon than this around here, but it is amazing, guys. And they have the best coleslaw I've ever had in my entire life. So creamy and good. And their french fries are fresh cut, or at least I think they are because they taste that way. They kind of remind me of Swiss chalet. They're delicious. I'm going to show you guys really quickly what their burger looks like. I wish you could taste it. It's just, yeah, you just have to see it. So here's what we ate. Bella and I actually shared these fries. I had a burger and she ate about half of her burger. It was a lot of food, really good price. Super happy we ordered it tonight. So guys, this was supper for Thursday night. All right guys, it's here. We made it. It's Friday and I'm making chili. It has been bitter cold, like -20 with the wind chill. So Jamie's away tonight. When he gets home tomorrow, he'll have leftovers. I love chili because you can eat it for days. So anyway, you want to see how I make this? Just keep watching. Let's see. So first we have a giant pot for the chili. You can make this in your crock pot. I mean, I do sometimes, but honestly, it's not a big deal for me. I like the smell of it on the stove, and I'm home, so we do it on the stove. Where you can need a little bit of oil just to cook up your ground beef. I have the organic no salt seasoning from Kirkland and fine ground black pepper. That's mostly for when I'm cooking my beef. Same thing here. I'm gonna go ahead and use some garlic powder. I don't have any minced garlic, guys. I forgot to get some. That kind of makes me sad, but that'll do. I have oregano. Do you guys like my little tags? Yeah. And I have some onion powder. I also have some chili flakes. And I do have this Clubhouse chili packet. I've never used it, but I'm gonna give it a try today. I still like to add my own spices over and above anytime I use anything like this. I don't know. Maybe it's overkill, but that's what I like to do. This again, guys, is not a recipe, So bear with me, just watch this and do what I do. For vegetables, if you're wondering why this is broken, it's a weird story, but here it is. We have a green pepper. I also have just a small onion. I may not even use all of that. I have some seriously sad celery, but you know what? It's fine. It's gonna be wilted anyway when it's in there. I'll just trim those ends, but I really like to have celery in my chili, so I'm going to chop that up. I've got about 2 pounds of medium ground beef here. This was a Costco haul I did a while back, and I'm actually starting to run out, so I may have to go get some more. There's probably about maybe 3 pounds. That might be 1.5 pounds in a bag. I remember I did a haul as well. I talked about these Rotel tomatoes. I'm really excited that we found them. I didn't know you could get them in Canada. I don't know if this is a new thing, but I'm excited because it's got the chilies in it. So yeah, we're gonna try those in there today. Also, I had used this in a spaghetti sauce a while back, loved it, raved about it. Same idea. I think they might have little chilies in them too. I don't know, but it tastes amazing. As soon as you open the can, guys, it smells amazing. So with that in the Rotel, I think it's gonna be great. And also a can of diced tomatoes. I like to put a lot of this in my chili. So we got a little tower of tomatoes here. Excited about that. These were on sale the other day. The Blue Menu black beans. I'm not particular about the beans in my chili, but I do like to have black beans. And of course, dark red kidney beans. So I will empty these. I will probably rinse them off a little bit before I put them in. And pieces and stems, canned mushrooms. I love canned mushrooms. I prefer them to actual mushrooms when I'm making things like sauces or chili. And my secret ingredient, don't judge me, try it first. Chocolate chips, semi-sweet chocolate chips, not milk chocolate, not dark chocolate. There's probably about 2 tablespoons in here. You could probably even just add 1. I might not add all of this. I don't know what it is. I'm just telling you, it's amazing. I've won chili cook-offs with this. Also, what I would add with it is usually half a can to a can of beer. I don't have any of that today, but I'm gonna go ahead and add the chocolate chips anyway. I don't know if it's the acidity in the beer and the chocolate chips just kind of, I don't know, cuts with some sweetness. I mean, I guess some people add sugar to their chili. This is my version of it. So this is it, guys. This is everything that you're gonna need to make my chili, minus that stuff in the back. Don't look at that. Don't look at that. Okay, this right here. All right, let's get right into it. Okay, so like I said, my celery is struggling. We're just gonna cut the ends off that don't look very good. I mean, a little bit of brown never hurt anybody, especially when it's in a chili. And this one, well, yeah, anyway. Chop it up. Do you guys live in a small house? I do. You make the best of the space you got. Right? Set that aside and chop up this onion too. I'm gonna make quick work of this. I'm only gonna do half of it because I don't want it to be an onion chili. I just, you know? Yeah. I'll probably cook it with my ground beef. I just threw it in there. It's a little bit frozen. I'll show you guys that in a second. I'm actually going to throw that in now. Can you hear that? Lovely. Okay. It's going to burn into the bottom. That's why I use oil in this pan. It's not non-stick, obviously, it's stainless steel, so I hate that I got to use oil, but I can't really use my other one. It's not big enough or deep enough. Anyway, brown up our meat and I'll get right back to you. Alright, at this point, guys, I'm going to go ahead and add some seasonings to this. My no salt seasoning, I'm going to add a good amount. like that. Lots of pepper. Be afraid of it. Go ahead and add some oregano. A little bit, it's not spaghetti sauce, it's chili. Some garlic powder here. A really good amount because I don't have any garlic. And that's upsetting. And since I didn't put a ton of onions, I'm gonna add some more garlic. Onion, salt, powder, whatever. I remember when we were kids, Mom always used to put onion salt on the table with spaghetti. It was good. I liked it. Ooh, that smells good already, guys. They're starting to melt. It's still frozen. Oh my gosh, I took that out last night. But it's thawing in the fridge. I don't like thawing stuff on the counter for obvious reasons. Let me turn that down a little bit. I just want to mention, guys, I did drain all the liquid from these tomatoes. I know it looks like a lot of tomatoes, but I have like 3 pounds of ground beef in here, which is almost done. Can't see it, it's so steamy, but yeah, between that, they're still going to produce a lot of liquid. It looks like a lot of tomatoes, but we're going to have our beans. It's going to be good. Trust me. Color. I mean, it looks delicious already, guys. Really nice looking. Ugh, I got tomatoes everywhere. I wish you could see this. Well, you did kind of. Guys, the dogs are licking it up. I don't even know if they're supposed to eat tomatoes. All right. Already looks good. I'm gonna add my celery and my green peppers. I don't really add any other colored peppers. There's enough colors with the tomatoes. I guess you could add yellow if you want. I mean red if you really like it. Look how festive that looks. Red and green. It's Christmas. So this is a thick chili, but like I said, it's going to thin out. Stuff's gonna let go of some liquid. So next, we're adding our chili seasoning. It says to just add it directly. So we're just gonna do that. But that's not enough for me, folks. Not enough. I'm gonna add the rest of this little bit of chili powder I have in this container. I'm done. That's a lot of chili in there. I probably could have used a couple packets, right? So a little bit more garlic powder in here. And I'm gonna go in with more cracked black pepper. And I am gonna go back with the Kirkland no salt seasoning. I mean, my house isn't that big. Where'd it go? All right, there we go. See, the reason I like it, you can see there's like dehydrated onions, and it looks like there's other dehydrated things in there. Like, I'll have to read the ingredient list one day. Not today. We're making chili. I'm busy. Oh, it smells good already. So, plan is to cover this for a couple minutes till it comes to a boil. Let it do its thing, and then drop it to a simmer for a few hours. Honestly, sometimes I'll just leave it on the stove on low or medium or like super low, like a 2. Let it sit there for 2.5 hours just to let all the flavors steep. You know what it's like. The more it sits, the better it is. So we're gonna come back in a little bit and see how it's going. I almost forgot. Hi. You know how I know we just did it. We're doing it all. I'm telling ya. It's just the sweetness, I guess, and the chocolate. Who knows? All right, you guys, and that was dinner for Friday night. Now that sums up the whole week. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please go ahead and give it a big thumbs up, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you get notified of all future videos. I post these at the end of every week. I hope you guys have a terrific weekend, and I'll see you next time.